Hey guys, Prophet MJ here. I wanted to encourage you with this word. As we're in 2022, this is your year of increase. This is the year where you're going to step into the promises of God. I've been reading about Abraham in Genesis over the last 2 weeks, and it's just really been stirring my faith. He was the father of faith. And in 2022, God, He's calling us to increase our faith because He has big things in store for us. And the thing about Abraham is that he always had an obedient heart, because our faith is attached to our measure of obedience. And the thing about Abraham that stuck out is that he never hesitated. He may not have understood, or he may not have got the whole picture, but he was always obedient towards God. He always had a humble heart. And so I was reading in Genesis 22, right, 2022, and this stuck out to me. So this is a story where God says, in the first verse, says, Abram, I'm going to test you. He says, okay, God, I'm listening. And even in that testing, right, because sometimes we like to run away from the testing, but he said, God, I'm here, I'm listening. And so we know the story where God asked Abraham to lay Isaac on the altar to sacrifice him. And so, Abraham doesn't even hesitate. So he said the next morning he went up and he went on the journey, a 3-day journey. But we know with three is the number of resurrection. It's the number of redemption. And so there was already, a prophetic picture that there was going to be some type of resurrection. And so, Abraham goes through all this stuff, gets the altar set up. Isaac begins to say, hey, Dad, where's the sacrifice at? And so Abraham puts his son on there. He's getting ready to sacrifice him, and the angel of the Lord comes. And he says, because you have been obedient, because you went through with the whole thing. And some of you, the reason why things have been held up is because you didn't go through everything that God asked you to do. But the angel of the Lord said that because your heart has been tested, it's been proven, your descendants are going to multiply, and that they're going to be able to overcome their enemies. And after reading that story, I heard the Lord say so strong, and I never thought about it like this, but I heard the Lord say that the promise didn't stop at Isaac. Maybe, a lot of times we think that because that was the promise, Isaac was the promise that God gave Abraham and Sarah. Maybe He said, well, this is the one He's going to birth somehow, all these nations through and such. But Isaac was just the beginning of the promise. And so I feel like in this season, 2022, God's going to call you to lay down that Isaac, or even coming into, maybe you've been in a season of that. But I want to encourage you that the promise doesn't stop with your Isaac. It's just the beginning. But in order for it to multiply, in order for you to be able to really fully see the fullness of God, you have to lay that thing down on the altar, because it's only in the sacrifice that something can be multiplied. Amen. So I just wanted to encourage you from Genesis 2020 and 2022 that your promise doesn't stop at Isaac, that your Isaac is just the beginning. And as you lay that down, as you give it back to God, He's going to give you back even more than what you can even think, ask, or imagine.